This is the Dad Time Podcast. Welcome to episode 6 of the Dad Time Podcast. Every once in a while, you run across something online and you say to yourself, wow, that is just totally cool and I have to have that. That is exactly the reaction that I had when I saw the AirFort for the first time. The AirFort is an inflatable play fort for your kids. It's inflated by a simple box fan and it doesn't have anything that you need to assemble. Your kids can even set it up. It's so easy, you just strap the AirFort to a standard box fan and turn the fan on. The AirFort team describes their product as the most extraordinary new kids fort that inflates with an ordinary household fan in less than 30 seconds. The AirFort company is co-founded by the father and daughter team, Luciana and Ed Hanley. I have them here on the podcast today to tell us all about the AirFort and what it's like to run a business together as a father-daughter team. Luciana and Ed, welcome to the Dad Time Podcast.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming on. So tell me, how did you come up with the idea for the AirFort?
Well, when I was a little guy, sixth grade, living in Turkey, believe it or not, my dad was in the Air Force, but I got put on restriction for peeing in the neighbor's pool, believe it or not.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so anyways, in my room, I had a fan, and I took my bed sheets, and I snuck out and grabbed some clothespins, and I built my first little AirFort. I don't know how it came to mind, but it did. And I weighted the perimeter with shoes and toys and books and anything I could find that was heavy enough to hold the perimeter of the sheet down. And I just hung out in there on restriction. And it kind of became my go-to toy later, just a hangout spot. And when Lucy and her sisters were born, I started making them. And they're still kind of messy because you have to have a lot of heavy weighted, toys and shoes and stuff and then you're dirtying sheets and clothespins and tape and all this stuff. And I thought, what the heck? I grabbed the sewing machine, ran down to the local fabric store, and just sewed a big square and Velcroed it to a fan.
Uh-huh.
And I weighted the perimeter originally with sand, which was a mistake because fabric eventually leaked sand in the house.
Sure.
And then I came up with a rope. It didn't really need to be that heavy after all. So I put rope in there, and man, we had a permanent AirFort the kids used for sleepovers, and kids would borrow it, and we never really knew where it was sometimes.
Yeah, it became the hit of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So how long ago was this?
That was when Lucy's 24
probably
now, so when they were 5, 6 years old, so 20 years ago.
That's awesome. So you've been developing this thing for 20 years, 20-year testing cycle.
Yes, exactly.
It's been through a long
Well
one.
tested.
So is the original prototype still around?
Yeah, I still have it, and there's probably about 10 prototypes. We have one that's really huge. It's about a 12 by 12, and it fits probably
20 people.
Yeah, at least 20 people
Yeah.
can get in it.
Wow. So, I remember as a kid growing up, we had this parachute that we'd go in the gym with, right? And we'd flop it around and then kind of sit on it. And then everybody could sit inside this big mushroom, and it just reminded me of that the first time I saw it. It just bring back, really good memories from my childhood.
Yeah, a lot of people have told us that it reminds them of that.
Well, if you ask everyone, have you built a fort before? They all say yes. We've never run across anybody from any country, really, that said, no, I don't know what you mean. I've never built a fort.
Mm-hmm.
So, in fact, there's even books written about fort building, kid fort building. There's like 8 books, yeah.
And how it's important for, children's growth and development.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of a phenomenon that kids require or they desire a private space where they can kind of
make their own little world.
Life, because kids are always pretending to be grown-ups and, pretending to be in doing things in life. And
Right.
we ordered one of the more well-known books, child psychologist books about forting. And it's really boring, but it talks a lot about it. We learned a lot about that.
So how did the idea come to market?
So I graduated from the University of San Diego in 2015, and as my dad told you, we've had the idea forever. And so right when I graduated, I didn't want to, I had been interviewing for these jobs where I'd be sitting behind a desk all day, and that's just not my personality.
Yeah, let me step in here because Lucy is the brightest.
Oh gosh.
I know she hates this, but she's the brightest entrepreneurial spirit I've ever been around. In fact, when she was a little girl, she raised over $13,000 after we had these big fires in San Diego.
Wow.
She sat in front of the post office, and she raised over $13,000. She got on radio, and then she'd do lemonade stands where not only would she sell lemonade, but she'd sell pens that were decorated with flowers or flashlights that were decorated. We'd go to the 99-cent store and buy all the stuff with a glue gun, and she was selling stuff, setting up tables and put signs down the road, and then she commandeered her best friend's dad's garage and built a store. Put signs out on weekends and would gather yard sale stuff from friends and fill the store and put I mean, she just was always finding a way to convert stuff to money.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was just automatic. We never taught her to do that stuff. She just did it. So that kind of is important to know about Lucy.
That's kind of why the desk job wasn't.
And when she came to me with this, hey, Dad, let's do this, I knew that she had these skills. And so it was a pretty easy decision to say, okay, let's just do this together.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's where so that's when, right when I graduated, that's when we both decided, okay, full blast. We're going to, both of us were very clueless on how to bring a product to market. I obviously didn't have the background. My dad, you've had some, manufacturing background. But we decided then we're just going to go for it.
Yeah, and just anytime we hit a hurdle, we would just bust through it. We're just going to bust through anything we had to bust through.
Well, that's awesome. And there had to have been lots of hurdles to go through. What were some of the big ones that you had to overcome?
I would say in the beginning, the manufacturing for sure was the hugest hurdle. Looking back, we always we laugh, because we used to Google manufacturers in China and Mexico. I mean, we were Googling them and cold calling them. And that's just not the way to do it.
Yeah, and driving
down to, the border by Mexico, because we're very close to National City, where we actually had our, professional prototypes made. But
it wasn't going to happen that way.
We were just so clueless. So we actually attended the ABC Kids Expo in Las Vegas in October of 2015 and got super lucky. We met a guy there who's an American who actually, owns some factories in China, and it's all, very family oriented, and it just.
Yeah, it really helped us. We got really lucky. We were selected. They picked 22 inventors to attend what they call the Invention Connection, which is kind of an off-floor showcase of cool new toys or new kids products that are coming that may not be produced yet, but are patent pending or whatever. So we got selected for that, which was kind of cool.
Cool.
And that's a lot of these manufacturers are really interested in going in there and seeing if they can, help. And what happened was an internet company invited us to the Bellagio to this private party. We thought it was going to be this rager,
Right.
When it was like 20 people, and it was very quiet, calm cocktail party. And I introduced myself to a guy who he and his wife had started the
Baby Bjorn, those wraps.
Okay. Yeah. And they ended up selling it to this guy Bruce, and Bruce is the one who owns the manufacturing.
Okay.
In China, and when he showed up at the party, they introduced us to him, and that was it.
That was it.
From there, our problems were solved.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys had a Kickstarter campaign as well.
Yes, that was where we had initially launched the AirFort on Kickstarter back in November of 2016. And Kickstarter was a love-hate relationship with Kickstarter for us. It was, we had a very tight budget to create our Kickstarter. So we, filmed our video with an iPhone, edited it with, a little bit of guidance here and there.
Yeah. It's still up if you want to see it.
It's still up if you want to go check it out.
Check it out. But
it definitely was one of those things that we really had to work at it a ton to get the traffic that we thought that would just come naturally. We really had to work for it.
Yeah, Kickstarter doesn't market for you. You have to
Really do it yourself.
Draw people in. And so, and our customer is really the mom or the dad,
Grandparents.
yeah, and those people tend to be really busy, have busy lives, and they're not really hanging around looking at Kickstarter gadgetry, because a lot of gadgetry and
a lot of tech. We realized it was very techy.
yeah.
A lot of the things on Kickstarter. But we ended up spending the majority of our time, a lot of people would see the AirFort and be like, oh, that is so cool, I want to buy it. And, come to Kickstarter and be like, what the heck is Kickstarter? And so we spent so much time answering questions about what Kickstarter is, and people didn't understand the fact that, you order on Kickstarter, that doesn't mean the fort's coming to you in 3 days.
Right.
So it was definitely a big explaining process.
Yeah.
For sure. But
we had a successful campaign, and we
got a lot of great marketing out of it.
Yeah.
We had a couple of videos go viral on, some of those Facebook groups. Viral Thread picked up one.
13 million views on one.
Yeah,
Wow.
which really helped.
But it didn't translate to a lot of sales.
It did at some points, but it's the wrong market.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
But for the future, now looking back, it definitely helped a ton.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people have this misconception that you just upload something to Kickstarter and the next day it's this viral sensation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because now that we've kind of been in the Kickstarter world, we've realized that there's actually some companies that, they just use Kickstarter to launch every new product that they bring to market. They have this huge Kickstarter following, and they are super successful on Kickstarter because that's practically their store.
Right.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, so they're not little startups. They're multi-million-dollar companies, and they're on Kickstarter.
They use Kickstarter as their platform. Yeah.
But their focus is more on the tech products, correct?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of artsy stuff, too. A lot of people trying to produce a play or write a paper or write a book. That's how it all kind of started, Kickstarter. But then, everybody jumped on board.
So how developed was the AirFort when you went and did your Kickstarter campaign?